All right, everybody, welcome to our event. We are here to talk about navigating what's next. So we're going to talk a little bit about relationships, some family things that we go through, financials, and of course, life. We have three, I'm going to say, awesome speakers. They're going to share with you some of their tips and tricks about how to move forward through some of these things that we experience in life transitions. So our first speaker is Beth Allison. She is a certified life coach. With her company name is Within You Coaching. And she's going to talk to you a little bit about coaching, how you can benefit from her coaching, and see if it's right for you. And then there's myself. I'm going to talk second. My name's Shel Sawyer. I am a certified divorce financial analyst, CDFA, mediator, and coach. So I usually help people through the divorce process, help them navigate their divorce, and make good decisions for their future. But I'm not just going to talk about divorce today. I'm going to apply some of these things, these financial acumen that I have, to any life transitions. And then we have Jeremiah. He is an attorney and a mediator, and he's going to share some of his experiences with you and some of his tips that he's learned from his trade. So Beth, if you'd like to kick it off.
I'd love to. Thanks so much, Shel. And it's great to be with you and Jeremiah today. As Shel said, I am a certified life coach. I specialize in helping people navigate through and successfully through a life transition. The transitions could be something like a career change, readying for retirement, relationships, and it could be when you're caring for a loved one. So those are some of the major life transitions that I focus on, amongst other things. The first question I usually get when I meet somebody who is not familiar with coaching at all, especially life coaching, isn't it the same thing as counseling or seeing a therapist? Well, the only place that it really is the same is when we meet the client. We meet them where they are, and we are in the support role of helping them move forward. But for a counselor, they spend a lot of time in the past. I fondly refer to that as their sandbox. So they like to go back to if you had a trauma, what were the family dynamics you grew up with, all those sorts of things. As a coach, I sometimes find ourselves, when I'm working with the client, going back there. But what it's for is for awareness, right? So you're aware of those things. What are the lessons learned? And that type of thing for us to move forward. But we don't hang out there too long. We're really in the present and what can we do to move forward? Some people also think that when they come to a coach, they're going to get a solution. Well, they are, but it's not going to come from me. It's going to come from them, right? So my goal is to work with the clients so that they can uncover the solutions that lie within them. And so help them figure out what that next step or steps are to get through their transition. Shel mentioned that I was going to talk about the benefits of coaching. Well, what you get from a coach, whether it's me or another coach, you get an objective perspective. Family and friends are great to bounce things off of. They mean very well, but they know you. They know your history, right? If you have tried that thing that you had always wanted to do and you didn't succeed the first time at it, I don't know that, right? We may figure that out. Doesn't mean you can't succeed again, so that they could be kind of suggesting you not pursue it because it wasn't successful before. Not ill intended, that counsel from family and friends, but I or another coach comes at it from a fresh perspective. I don't know you, so it's a blank slate with me. Also, we are to be active listeners. We'll ask questions and then we're going to listen, right? And actively listen and have follow-up questions. So I'm in the question business to help you uncover those things that you need for moving forward. And going through coaching, when you make those decisions to make that next step or what direction you want to go in, you're going to do it from an informed decision-making place, because involved in this is research and evaluation of options. There's going to be some accountability, whether we like it or not. We all need accountability partners. And that's one of the aspects you get from coaching, because in between sessions, there will be action items for you to do that you, by the way, will have agreed to. I don't assign them, and you would do them in between the sessions. And then we would talk about it at the next session. And these sessions are all about the client. My only goal is helping the client achieve what it is that they're looking for. So when you involve yourself with a coach, you're investing your time, your resources, your energy for yourself. And that's okay. It's good to give yourself permission to do that. We don't do it enough. So what are the characteristics of somebody who would be ideal for coaching? Well, first of all, they need to be open. They need to be open to the possibilities that lie before them. In a lot of cases, they don't think that there are as many possibilities in front of them. They've been doing it. They've gone into this routine. This is what I should be doing. This is what I have to do. It not necessarily is what they want to do or what's really in their best interest, right? So be open to looking at things differently. Another key one is for those clients to be able to be honest with themselves, right? It's important for them to be honest with me so that I can help them achieve the right direction and path. But it's most important that they're being honest with themselves. They need to be introspective, right? So they're really willing to look inside, because in a lot of cases, there are obstacles or barriers that are keeping you from moving forward. And those are the things that we'll have to look at, investigate, and remove those obstacles and barriers for forward momentum. Be motivated to be making the change, right? If you come to a coach and they want to make a change, but they're really not motivated to do it, then the coaching probably is not going to be a successful avenue for them at that point in time. And to be curious, really to be, as you know, I started with the open, and part of what goes with being open is curious. What else is out there? You know, what did I love doing as a kid that I'm not doing now that maybe I could incorporate it into my life? Doesn't necessarily need to be a career, but it's a hobby that you've lost your way and not finding it. For me, that's my art. I've gotten so involved in the everyday life that I'm not working on my artwork as much, right? So it could be those types of things. And as you came to this recording to learn the tips for moving forward, the 5 most common tips, regardless of what type of life transition you're going through. The first one is to stop and breathe. We are so much in a reactive environment and culture right now that we go straight into action. My best counsel is to stop and breathe a few times, not just once. Ask for help. You don't have to go it alone. You don't have to be thinking about it, you know, in your office by yourself. There are many people that can help, whether it is a coach, or it could be Shell or Jeremiah, depending on your situation. I've built a great referral resource system for me for the things that I'm not an expert at. Finances, nope. Litigation, nope, right? So 2 of my referral sources are right here in this video, and that's why we're doing it together, because we come to it as a team. So ask for help. Also research and evaluate your options, right? So that you make, again, that goes to that informed decision making. There are a lot of options out there, but unless you research and evaluate them, you don't know which ones are the best to pursue. I'm going to say it again, be honest, right? Be honest with yourself as you're doing it, or you're going to waste your time and energy. And none of us have time for that. And keep, it was all about self. Keep you front of mind, right? What's best for you? And when you're best for you, you are best for everybody else around you. And we hear it all the time. I'm not telling you anything new, but those are the tips for next steps from your life coach, Beth Allison. And now I'm going to turn it over to Shell.
I have to say, Beth, those were some really great tips. I loved them, especially the one about breathe. I could have used that earlier in the day. I needed that. I probably could use that every day. And asking for help, isn't that, sometimes that's really hard, isn't it?
It is very hard.
Yeah, but it's important, especially when you're going through a life transition, right?
Absolutely.
It's not something to be taken with a grain of salt. It's something to be taken seriously. And, asking for help is so important during that time, especially with professionals who have witnessed other people going through these things, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to share some tips too, just like Beth did, but I'm going to do it from a financial perspective. Like Beth said, like we work very well together, almost in unison, helping people get through life transition. I'm Shel Sawyer. I think I mentioned before that I am a certified divorce financial analyst. Well, what does that mean? It means that I have divorce specific financial expertise. But I specialize in divorce, but my background is in finance. I grew up a finance girl. I went to school for finance. I got my master's in accounting, and I spent a lot of my time in the financial services industry. And what I learned in the financial services industry is a lot about what it means to not have financial acumen, and the risk you're taking by not having that and not having help when you're going through it. So I'm going to give you some tips about having some financial success. What are those tips? And I'm going to relate these to transition, right? I could give you a lot of examples of some of my clients that have gone through, and I'll try to trickle that in here, but this could be true for any transition you're making. The first tip I'm going to say is having cash on hand is very important. So when you're thinking about anything that might be coming up, I think Beth brought up a few things like, are you going to be taking on a new career? Let's talk about that. Having cash on hand is very important, right? Because maybe you need to hire a career coach. So you're going to need to have some cash that's accessible to you, so that you can pay this life coach to help you make some good decisions in your future, right? This could be somebody like that, talking through what your future is going to look like. This could also mean having cash on hand so that you can pursue, maybe you want to open your own small business. And, the Great Resignation was a true testament to this. A lot of people decided not to work for corporate America anymore, where you're almost guaranteed a steady paycheck, but to go out on their own and work for themselves. Having cash on hand to get that business up and running is really important. We always talk in the financial industry about having 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund. That's for anything that's going to come up, right? car repairs, something happens on your house, you need a new air conditioning system, but it could also be a transition in your life, like a career transition. So having cash on hand is very important. The second tip I'm going to give is preparation. Getting prepared. It makes you less afraid, but it also makes you a little better able to act. So what do you need to do to get prepared? Some of the things are just understanding your financials, understanding what you owe, what you own, what you need to move forward in your future. So understanding that and getting prepared can mean collect your bank statements. Look at those. What do you need going forward? Maybe you should run your credit report to make sure you understand what your debt looks like. Have your tax returns handy. A lot of times, so I give some of this information from a divorce specialist, right? Those are the first things you do when you go through a divorce is you need to be prepared. You need to get those financials in order. You need to make sure you are sharing with your attorney or your mediator what your financial view looks like from your perspective. That's always your first step, and it's always your first step in any transition. The next thing is something I see very often. It's I don't want you to mix your money with your emotions. Change is really hard. I see a lot of people take advice from others who are not professionals. I mean, that's okay. I think Beth touched on this a little bit. Talking to your friends and family, they mean well. And they always they take, they're thinking about you. And from Beth's perspective, I think she was talking a lot about, they might not be the most positive about, a career change for you, right? Because they're thinking about you financially, are you going to be okay? But working with professionals is really important. Divorce is a big example of this, right? It's so easy to confuse your feelings with facts. Finance, what I love about finance is it's clear data, right? It's facts. It gives you that you can't argue about what's in front of you. But feelings, you could really get into a lot of detail on, right? So don't mix the money with your emotions. And I say that because I have an example of something that I witnessed today. Someone going through a divorce, really hard time, right? But giving away things that she was entitled to. It's hard to see for me because I've been there, but you really deserve and make sure your feelings about getting divorced. Maybe you have some guilt. Don't mix that with the money that you have. Create a cash flow statement. I call it a cash flow statement. Some people call it a budget, but I think budget, that term, people kind of cringe and then they shut me off. But a cash flow statement, you want to understand where your money is going, right? So understanding that and updating it regularly. What's the income coming in? What does that look like? What do your expenses look like? The money that's going out the door. You want to be able to have control over that and tell your money where to go instead of having your money controlling you and going where it wants to. And then I'm going to say, don't ever ignore tax consequences. So all assets are not created equal. There are hidden tax issues everywhere, and every decision has a tax consequence to it. So a sweet deal that you might have might turn sour just from paying taxes. An example of this is say you have a 401k plan, right? You put that money in there pre-tax dollars. When you're going to get a distribution on that, you have to pay taxes on it, unless it's a Roth. But there's a lot of little intricacies when it comes to taxes. And then my last bit of advice is to have a good team. Finances are way too complicated to go it alone. And I don't know about you, but when we were growing up, there wasn't a lot of education around finances. I decided to go in that route because I loved it. I loved working with my dad, seeing what he did. And so I loved that. But if I didn't go that route, I wouldn't have the financial acumen that I do. And I know that that's not easily taught in schools. So I help people make good decisions for their future. And I'm going to turn this now over to Jeremiah, where he's going to talk a little bit about mediation and being an attorney. Take it away, Jeremiah.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Shelley, and thank you, Beth. I really do appreciate where you talked a bit about needing a team. Beth talked about it. Shelley, you talked about it. And first, let me tell you about myself. My name is Jeremiah Ollennu. I'm an attorney in Connecticut, and I'm going to be sharing with you some of my experience and some of my views about how the legal process really works and how to make a practical use of the legal process when you are going through a transition and when you are considering what is next. Um, I've been practicing Connecticut for more than a decade, and I'm also admitted in federal court and in other places. So if you hear me talking about some of these things, I'm talking as someone who practices predominantly in Connecticut, and don't take it as legal advice for your personal situation, because you're going to need to talk to an attorney about your specific circumstances wherever you happen to be. But let me also stress the point that both Shell and Michelle and Beth made here. That between the three of us, we have more than half a century of professional experience. We have been doing our craft and doing what we do for a long time. We've seen for different people, different circumstances, and it's very important to understand that no one person, not a lawyer, not a financial professional, not a coach, has the bandwidth to cover the kind of problem that you probably present in detail without tapping into the mind of other people. If you're going to go into a situation that requires good and reasoned planning, you're going to have to talk to a coach, because the coach is going to help you structure what the goal is, what the steps are to meeting that goal, and how do you monitor your progress, and how do you determine where your success is. For that, you don't go to a lawyer. The lawyer is supposed to help you with legal things. You go to somebody who has experience doing that, and that person is going to have to be Beth. If you go to a lawyer right away and start throwing up and your problems in front of a lawyer and saying, I want to know my legal rights. Well, what is your legal rights going to do for you when you don't have a plan to achieve whatever goal you are going to court to achieve, or whatever the legal issue is? If you're going to deal with a financial issue and you need Shell to help you with the substance of whatever that financial goal is, you first need a plan and say, well, here is what I really want. Here is what resources I have in front of me to achieve it. And let me see if I could talk to someone like Beth, who knows how to take what I have and grow it, or point me in the right direction. And then I talk to Shell, who is going to actually tell me, well, here's what you have. Whether you're going through divorce, whether you're going through a life transition from a career or whatever, you have a pot of money, and that money has to be managed so that you can have a cash flow. you can have consistent income and take care of your debts. So essentially, what I'm trying to tell you is what Beth and Shell have already told you is no one does it alone. If you want to go quickly, you might want to go fast and go alone. But if you want to get far, you generally need a team of people around you. And I have to tell you, I have known Shell and Beth for some time now, and they are very, very conscientious about what they do. So, having said that, let me just jump into what I do and tell you a little bit about how I think the legal process can be more helpful to you if you approach it the way I'm about to tell you. So, most of us, when we are thinking about law or whatever, if you're going through any kind of transaction and you are considering talking to a lawyer, first thing I want you to understand is that the legal process by itself can be looked at, and you should look at it in two separate ways. One is the substantive law, okay? What is the substance of the law that applies to me? And for that, you need to really understand that you need to look at what you are looking for. What do you want? The substantive part of the legal process always pertains to what the person who is coming to court or who is looking to use the law wants to get out of it. What do you want out of this process? Okay. And then the second part of it is procedure. Procedure is very simple. How do you get into court? How do you stay in court? And how do you, what path do you take to get what it is that you're looking for? So those are the two basic things that you're going to do if you go to a court. And before you go and talk to a lawyer, you need to, first and foremost, come up with a list of the things you need to achieve. Why is that important? Because some of the things that you need to achieve are not legally related. Most of it have to do with some serious personal issues. Some of it may be emotional. Some of it may be financial. Some of it may be work related. For that kind of thing, don't go to a lawyer. Don't run over to a law office and say, I want to know my rights, when you understand that what I'm trying to achieve is, well, maybe separate from my spouse if divorce is the issue, or I need a better financial arrangement or something like that. You need a list and you need someone to help you organize what it is you're hoping to do. What do you really want? Before you come to a Jeremiah or whoever the lawyer is, ask yourself, what do I really want? And is this something that the law can give me? Before you are able to answer that question, it would serve you best if you speak with a life coach. It will be you'll be spending your money much better, more sensibly if you first organize yourself this way, have a plan, have a way of measuring your plan, and have a way of determining when you have succeeded or when you have failed. Okay, because failure is a very important part of achieving any goal. Now, after you have made your plan, then I want you to ask yourself, what lawyer do I need? It's better if you look at your local bar, where you live, look at the lawyers out there and see which lawyer really does the kind of thing I'm looking to get done. And go around, maybe interview a few of them, know what their career has been like, know what they have been successful at. You can't just hire any lawyer. The lawyer is about to work for you. It behooves you to interview that person and find out who they really are. Is this someone I can work with? Are they too busy for me? How much are they going to charge me? Would they drag my process on and on? What is their reputation? It is very important. Don't just come and hire Jeremiah. Know who he is. Okay. And then once you know that, then you can move forward and start talking more about this is what I want to do. And while you're doing that, I also want you to keep in mind that you should always refer to the list of things that you want accomplished. if you go to a lawyer and you just leave it all to the lawyer because the lawyer knows what they're doing, they've gone to law school, they've been admitted. Now, remember, there are two things going on here when you go see a lawyer. I'm going to tell you straight because that's the only thing I can do. There is always the practice of law, but also there is a business of law. The lawyer is going to get paid. The lawyer is going to charge you. How are they working? And what are you paying for? What are you achieving through that process? So, in essence, what I really want you to understand is that this process of thinking what is next, especially at a time like this when the economy is really going crazy and there's a lot of fear and anxiety about all kinds of things, it is very important that you tap into the resources and the expertise that are available to you. Okay. So if you're going to go through any transition, whether it be divorce, whether it be a transition from one job to the other, whether you're navigating a complex personal issue or an issue related to your family or employment, I would suggest to you that the first thing you ought to do is to find a team of experts around you. And I will tell you that this group of people who I'm working with here, these people who are presenting, taking their time to inform you and educate you and have this conversation with you, are seriously conscientious about what they do. I know I am, because just practicing law is not just about making money, it's about helping people solve problems because we all have families. At the end of the day, I've been in my office since 7 a.m. I normally don't leave until 11 o'clock. Some people work longer than I do, so I'm not boasting about how much time I'm spending in my office and in court. But we do this because it makes sense for us and it makes sense for our families. Same thing for you. You're doing what you do because you want to preserve yourself, have a meaningful life, and protect your family. And that's what we do. But here, some of the things that I heard Shell talk about, and some of the things that I heard Beth talk about are very interesting. But I got a question for Beth. Beth, if I was looking to, I don't know, get out of my employment now, as people are losing their jobs and so on and so forth, what would be your process if I came to you for a conversation on planning my next step?
Yeah, it all starts with a complimentary consultation that I take everybody through to figure out what it is that they're looking to do or achieve. I have been laid off twice in my career. And I have changed careers, so I've been through those situations. And what I'm doing now was voluntary and what I chose to do. But it would start with the consultation. I would put together a program for them designed on their specifics. And then we would really look at all aspects of life. One of the more interesting things that I do is there's a discovery session, which is the first session of a program, and it's 90 minutes in length. And there is a survey, I guess, questionnaire that I send out in advance, which lists 13 different areas of one's life, right? So when we are focused on the career, we're not just focused on what that job or position is going to be, right? It's also how does it impact all the areas of the life. And when I went through my training and I got that list, I'll be honest, transparent, like you said, Jeremiah, is there were 3 of them on there that I was like, I don't ever think about, right? So because we get so caught up in life happens, we just get into it, that we lose sight of those things that are important to make sure that we're having a fulfilling life. So it's not just finding that career that is best suited for you, but it's also that's best suited for your life. So you're living a happier and more fulfilling life. So it is a process, and it all starts with a complimentary 30-minute consultation to figure out. And it's also to make sure that we're right for one another, I'm not the right coach for everybody. And, you know, and I understand that. And if I'm not, I know some people who have specialties and others that I would refer them to the coach that could probably best suit them.
Yeah,
That's
I
really
do the same
important,
thing.
Beth. Yeah.
Shell, what is your what is how much you charge for your initial consult, Shell?
I have a free consultation. I have a 30-minute free consultation just like Beth. So if you're interested, that's how I start all of working with my clients is we start with a free consultation and I ask them like what they're going through during the period of time and kind of what brought them here, right? What brought them to me and why. So they usually tell me a little bit about their story, whatever they're comfortable with. And I can decide from there and talk to them about how I can help them. So I have a couple different services. I specialize in helping helping women walk through the divorce process, holding their hand the whole way. I help them prepare, making sure they understand what they owe and what they own, what a good settlement option looks like for them, how to help them negotiate that and be a good client for their attorney or mediator. And I know that might sound funny about being a good client for your attorney or mediator, but just being prepared and making sure you have a good set of questions to ask, you know, what the expectations might be, helping you just be ready. So when they can come to their mediator's office or their attorney's office, they know and they're ready for what they actually want out of that session. But I also do mediation, and so that's helping a couple, right? So when I'm listening to them during their consultation, I might think about, you know, mediation would be a good area for them to go down, a good arena, right? To dabble in. I always tell my clients that mediation should be where you start when you're going down the divorce path, if you can, right? But I'm helping you make good decisions. So I'm not an attorney. I'm looking at the financial aspect, giving you clear data to make those decisions so that you understand what and you're set up for success for your future.
Yeah, and I think, you know, also with that one, if I'm whoever I'm working with, I'm preparing them to have the discussion. I love to tell the one when I'm talking to people who are ready for retirement, right? And so I kind of say, well, what do you want to do? And they throw out there, I want to travel the world. I'm like, that's great. That sounds wonderful. And right. And I'm like, can you financially afford that? Does your financial advisor know that that's what you want to do? Right. And if not, I really tell them you should talk to your financial advisor and put the plan in place to do that. And, you know, similarly, I deal with people who are at the point that they're having to care for a loved one, whether, you know, it's an elderly parent, which is where this comes from for me. My mother had Alzheimer's. My dad was the primary caregiver. But in some situations, you don't know what some of the legal things could be. That first, let's understand what your situation is, and then go and talk to a Jeremiah, because it was just my brother and I, but there could be other siblings, other family, right? So that it gets a little mucky. I don't necessarily want to get in with all that, but prepare them for that discussion with a Jeremiah so they can go and find out, you know, would their attorney be an appropriate way to go or not? Because I'm not going to tell them they should or they shouldn't, but they can get that advice from Jeremiah.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly, Beth. I went through a similar situation and my dad had Alzheimer's, so it was opposite, right? But I tried to do all the paperwork myself. But when my mother went into the nursing home, I was sure to hire an attorney. I was smart the second time around. That paperwork is nothing to mess with.
No, it's not. And so, you know, those are the
Hire professionals that know what they're doing, right?
Exactly.
Moral of the story.
Exactly.
I think the point is that, you know, there's a lot of help out there. There are a lot of people. You're not alone. No one is alone. You can get help, but I think the important thing is you have to get the right help. If you
Yeah.
get the wrong help, the problem just get bigger. Somebody tries to help you, but they don't know what they're doing. Okay, they mean well, but it ends badly
Mhm.
because they just don't know what they're doing. And so I concur. I agree with what you have said. A lot of personal uh, things that we all go through that we suffer needlessly. We endure needless pain, and we make simple problems into even bigger problems because we choose the wrong path. We choose the wrong people to help us. But I think this is a great conversation to figure out what do we really do in your next step, Michelle. What is your mediation process? Because I'm an attorney. I have a litigation mindset, and a lot of attorneys bring litigation mindset into mediation. But I want to hear your process as a financial professional going through that process with people. How do you do it?
I start off by having people create their budgets. I have a very streamlined process. I went through the 40 hours of training for mediation, but I marry it with my CDFA and my finance background. So I give them clear data to help them make their decisions. So we're looking at information, and I try to give them a little bit of suggestions, and they make the decisions, right?
Mhm.
But I want it to be clear on some of the short and long-term implications that could happen from some of the decisions that they're making. So my mindset is always on the finances. I do help with the parenting plan, and walk them through that. So that's what I do with my mediations. I'm not an attorney. I never give legal advice. I partner with attorneys though that are review counsel, and they could do the filing of the paperwork for them. So I'm just taking them through the decision-making process. So
Thank you.
how is your process different, Jeremiah?
Well, my process is not exactly different from what you are doing, but it's just the mindset of an attorney
Mhm.
who litigates. So pushing back when people say, "Well, I agree on this," and I normally say, "Well, do you have the consequences?" And here's what's going to happen. And so it's not so quick to say, "Yeah, you have an agreement. I drafted for you," and that's the end of it.
Mhm.
So it's a little bit different. And people sometimes get taken aback by it because they said, "Well, we already have an agreement." And I say, well, if I'm going to be diligent with you, and I'm going to be fair with you here, it looks like the agreement you have is going to lead you back into court after your divorce because you'll be
Mhm.
fighting. Right
Mhm.
now, you are in the peacemaking mindset, but you're not in the critical thinking mindset,
Mhm.
and that's probably uh, that's why, in fact, when you're going through a divorce and you haven't had that critical analysis with a coach, I could tell you this. If most of the people who go through divorce, in fact, the people who get married, if if they talk to a life coach before they get married, the chances of them getting divorced is going to be reduced by at least 90%, because at least they would know how to deal with conflicts. They will know how to fight.
Mhm.
You need to know how to fight if you're going to get married. You need to know how to fight and fight fair. You're going to be very, very nasty spouse. And a nasty spouse, nobody needs it. They will get divorced. Okay, but to my mind, when people are going through a mediation or divorce, they need a support system,
Mm-hmm.
and that
Agree,
support system is
100%.
better
Mhm.
if it is someone who's objective.
That's what I think all three of us bring is an objective perspective.
Right.
Straight out. This is how it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Exactly. And who better to exactly, exactly. I'm going to be flat out with you. Around Connecticut, most lawyers are going to charge you $350 an hour to $550 an hour, depending on which side of the state you are in.
Right,
If you're in
right.
Fairfield County, you may be paying more. Exactly.
More.
So if you're going to be using a financial professional who is going to charge you probably a little bit less than a lawyer is going to
Yes.
charge you, and you're going to get the results, why would you go to a lawyer and be charged a lawyer's rate when you can get the same thing done even better talking to another? And I'm not saying that you don't need a lawyer.
You
Most
do,
people
yes.
need lawyers,
Mm-hmm.
but use a lawyer for what the lawyer is designed for. Don't just go to the lawyer and cry, okay? And
That's an
it's
expensive
fine. I
cry,
will
right?
watch you cry.
That is,
Exactly. Exactly. I spend money on tissue, but you don't want to be paying my hourly rate to be crying in front of me. You need Beth. I honestly believe that, and I'm stressing that point not just to be light about it, but I truly believe that many of the problems that you will face when you're in transition from and deciding what comes next is some careful planning. And that careful planning involves talking to Beth, and you're going to have to deal with some serious money issues. Every decision you're going to make involves either you paying money or you getting money. Okay. Which means you need someone who understands money, and that person is Shell. And I think
Can
the
I
point
can I
is
ask you a
clear.
question
They
about
have
that,
demonstrated to
Jeremiah?
you, and
Oh,
I've
sorry. I didn't realize you were still talking. Sorry. Go.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask you, so your thoughts on this. We're talking here about having the right team behind you and making sure that, we all serve different purposes. What would be your, proposal or your argument to somebody that said, like, I can't spend all this money on all three of you, right? What would you say to them?
Uh, uh, I hear that all the time, and I would tell people when they tell me that is that you're going to get what you pay for.
Mhm.
Okay, and there is a saying in the legal field that only a fool has himself or herself for a lawyer. And why is that? If you are emotionally tied to a situation, it's very difficult to think objectively about it.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
and that's number one. But much of the time, you are saving a penny by
Mhm.
not going to the lawyer,
Yeah.
but you're going to have to spend after the situation is messed up and you need the lawyer to try to fix it. And the fixing takes longer and it actually costs you more. It's much better if you can understand that you don't need a lawyer every day. Okay.
Mhm.
And what I'm telling you is that if you are using other professionals to do the real work that needs to be done, the solution may be accomplished more comprehensively, and it will cost you much less to talk to Beth, to talk to Shell. And then when they have done their part, you come to Jeremiah and let Jeremiah do the real work that he's supposed to do, rather than give it all to Jeremiah and then say, I can't afford it. Of course, you can't afford it because you are the wrong place.
Right.
Okay. So
I
I'm
like that
saying to
answer.
you,
Yeah.
understand where you are in your path to next. Understand what problems you're facing and try to use the right solutions to accomplish your goal.
Nice.
yeah, to that, Shell, I would just add that it does get costly, but you're also going to get the best result, right? Because you will have looked at all the aspects, so that at the end of the day, like Jeremiah is saying, so many go through divorce, but then they end up back in the courts because they haven't done what I'll say the due diligence ahead of time to forego that.
Yeah.
And you know, through me, you know, it is tactical, but there is emotion that goes into the work that I do, right?
Same here.
And so
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
right, so I can flesh that out before they get to you or Jeremiah, you know, for what that phase is. And so it's much more effective for them to use a team, though initially it's like, well, can I just do it with one? Well, you could, but it's not going to be,
Right.
you
It's
know,
not going to be cost effective either, right? In the long run, it
at
won't
the
be.
end of the day, no.
No. Yeah. Because if you spend, like Jeremiah was talking about, you know, $3.50 an hour to do the whole piece, you can spend more. You're
Yes,
doing everything with Jeremiah, right?
yeah,
Nothing. I'm sure you would do it wonderfully too.
yes.
Yes. I like that. I liked your answer there, Jeremiah.
Oh,
All right. Okay, so I'm
great
going to share.
conversation, everyone.
I know, it was really great conversation. I'm actually going to share our information real quickly. So this is our Jeremiah, Beth, and mine, all our websites and phone numbers for you. And if you want to contact any of us, you heard about our consultations and that we offer free consultations. So get in touch. If you have any questions, please reach out. You have some emails here. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to add, even though I've got a Connecticut phone number there, I actually reside in Virginia now. I did one of my own life transitions and moved last year. But I can, thanks to Zoom and all the virtual offerings, I'm able to coach anyone from anywhere. So
Awesome. Awesome. All right.
All
Well,
right.
we appreciate you being here with us. And like I said, get in touch. We're here for you.
Look forward to talking to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much.